Hey everyone, welcome to the Triangle Hustle podcast, where life, hustle, and construction collide in the heart of California. I'm Lila, your PPE and safety expert.
I'm Rocio, saving you money with insurance and workers' comp.
And I'm Frank, for all your trash and disposal needs. Whether you're swinging hammers or closing deals, this show is built for those who want to level up in business and in life.
From the job side to the boardroom, we're bringing you real talk, real challenges, and our favorite real wins.
Thanks for joining us. Good morning, guys.
Well, yes.
Good morning.
Yeah. Hey, happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. It's
happy
September.
Happy birthday.
Oh, thank
Happy
you.
60th. No, well, we don't have to throw the number out there.
Yes,
I was going to say happy 40th.
No, dude. You guys know Lila, she has energy of a 21-year-old.
This is
even
correct.
more.
Yeah, you could talk for days.
You could
homie.
stay up before, past 4 a.m. I can't.
Like you rival that of our energy. Like,
Yeah.
it takes both of us to take you out.
It was the blues music that had us up till
Is
4 in
that
the
till
morning.
4 in the morning? I heard.
September's my month. You know, we're all it's Virgo vibe this month.
Okay.
It's also National Recovery Month.
It is National Recovery Month, Rocio. We've been waiting for this for a very long time. We've been waiting for our next two guests for a very long time.
Yes. We have some
It was a
great
struggle
guests.
just to get here, right? Construction activities, Jordan going on vacation. But
National Recovery, or just the subject of recovery, hits home for all three of us.
Yeah.
And Aaron and Val, great, are going to share great stories with us.
Yeah.
So we're really excited.
So you
to
just
get into
threw it
the
out there.
subject
So
matter.
it is the great Ahron Valverde, and Valerie Valverde is actually coming back, because if you have been tuning in and if you've been following us, you know about the Third Step Ministry, you know about the amazing work she does. And now you guys are going to find out about the amazing work Mr. Ahron Valverde does, because I'm one of his byproducts. That's actually my discipler. So it's like my counselor or my teacher is coming in here, and I'm like, gotta be on my best behavior. So I better fucking curse now before he gets in the motherfucking door and this motherfucker just goes live and shit. So yeah, but that said, I'm super excited, man. I talk to this gentleman every day. His wife, I see her every Sunday. I sit with them at church. Almost every Sunday, and it's great to actually have somebody to sit with. But oh man, they're just beautiful people.
Yes. So get ready for this powerful interview, everybody, and we're going to welcome Aaron and Val.
Now, what better way to kick off Recovery Month than having Miss Valerie Valverde and Ahron Valverde, who are impactful leaders, not only in the Third Step Ministry part of it, but also in the construction side. So, very honored to have both of you guys. And if you don't mind, would you introduce yourself, Valerie, to the audience?
Sure. So as you said, my name's Valerie Valverde, and I have been married to this man who gave me my last name for 39 years. I say all the time that I married Valverde Construction because it has been such a huge part of our lives. I'm also a vice chair of Third Step Ministry, which is a ministry that reaches out to women in residential treatment for drug and alcohol addiction.
And I'm Ahron Valverde. I'm one of the owners of Valverde Construction. We have a family business that's been in business since 1972, and and I also do recovery at my church, Dream City Church in Whittier. And that's about it. Me and Frank have a relationship.
I get the honor and the privilege of talking to this man every day. Every day. So it's like God said, I'm going to put someone in your life to make sure you ain't talking up.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're going to watch you closely. I didn't know his name was going to be Ahron Valverde, but I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that.
And Rocio, I've known through business, for her to meet with us and go to business type stuff. So it's kind of and with you through safety. So it's all interconnected, which is an amazing thing, which we were talking about earlier.
Yes.
Yeah, and then for our audience that may not know Ahron face to face, but they know you through LinkedIn because you are active, man. You are man, I don't think you miss a day.
No, I don't. I get a lot of content from
Yeah.
my employees because people ask me, how do you get to the job so much? And I actually don't go a lot, but I get a lot of, because we work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, I get a lot of content. So mostly I'm posting content and just getting us out there and interacting. I've got a lot of, I think we met through LinkedIn, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think he's more active than you, Rosa.
Oh, definitely, most definitely.
I don't
Yeah.
know about that.
Like
if
he
in
had-
the postings, yes.
Yeah, if he had like 30 minutes extra in a day, he'd probably take you out.
Oh yes. Most definitely. Oh yeah. No doubt. And I had to mention this because our audience is LinkedIn, and you have a pretty large following as well.
Yes.
And I think some of our followers have interchange, and they're from different states as well. So we have a lot of audience from Texas and Florida.
Yes.
So this is Ahron Valverde.
Yes.
This is the
Yes.
face.
The infamous Ahron Valverde.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Chris and I have a similar story because we do run a family business together, just like you two.
Wait, hold on. I don't run the business at all. I'm simply married to the business.
To the business,
Yes.
got it.
I run him. No, I'm kidding.
Well, you got a good sidekick there. So no, Chris and I actually run the business actively. Been married a very long time, just like you two. And I think we have a very similar story in regards to recovery, because I am the one that has addiction in my past. 2 different times. Chris was my husband the whole time, and it is my biggest flex. Now that I'm about 10 years recovered from my last addiction, that we are still married.
Yes,
That he didn't leave
absolutely.
my ass, right? 10 years ago when I give him every reason to.
Wow.
But that's the powerful and the beautiful part about the Lord being still there, even though you don't feel him or me personally, you're away and far from him because you're into, your addiction, you're into your selfish desires. And I think the forgiveness and love and everything they teach us through the word is what has us here today.
It's beautiful.
And on that
Congratulations.
topic, I want to know what brought you guys together and how you guys got so involved in these recovery programs and the amazing work that you do.
What brought us together as a couple is a very unique story. Our fathers knew each other through networking, and my dad said, I have a daughter, and he said, I have a son, and we always say they did a movida, and the next thing I know, I was
La
at
movida.
his construction anniversary party, and his dad kept bringing these sons to meet me. It was like a lineup, right? And some of them were married at the time, so
How old
I
were
don't
you
know.
when this happened?
I was, I think, 20.
Okay. Oh yeah, fairly young.
And 2021. And then that was the end of the story until he had a birthday party. And we were invited to go in, and I met him again, and we started dating. And so his father says he's still waiting to collect the dowry that my dad owes him for that partnership. But here we are. That's how we met, through our fathers.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. How long did you guys date before you actually tied the knot?
Like we dated, but
It just didn't work
it
out.
didn't work out.
I was into myself. She was busy, and it just didn't. I said, this isn't going to work.
Yeah, so it just fizzled out. Then we dated again, and we started dating in the fall, and we got married in July. So
Wow.
we started dating. I moved in January, and then we were married in July.
And then
wow.
if I may ask, how did you know she was the one, Ahron?
That's a great question.
I fell in love with who she was. It was very connected with her family. Our families were raised very similar, and it just, I knew it was what I was supposed to do. Was we were to get married.
And you were how old?
How old was I?
27.
Was I 27?
You're fairly young.
Yeah.
And I'm asking this for the audience because I think a lot of young men, especially young men, I actually got questions about this. What is love? I get asked, like,
Right.
what is it? Like, what's a great partner? Like, a lot of people are afraid of marriage because,
Right.
like, I've been, my parents were divorced, or I come from a broken family. I don't know. I'm scared to get into commitment again because I've been hurt so many
Yes,
times.
yes.
So how did you know that was love?
I'd have to say we really didn't. We were young, we were foolish, we didn't. We kind of knew that we felt this deep feeling for one another, but I would have to say throughout the years going through life, having children, going through struggles together and staying committed, we learned what love, we are still learning what love is.
Yeah. And our story was the opposite of yours. I was the one that did things I shouldn't have been doing. And she stuck with me. So what you're saying really resonates with me because I feel the same way. How did you stay with me through this journey?
Yes.
Yeah.
Every time we do the anniversary, I always say, my husband deserves a trophy, and people that know me, well, you deserve one too. And I just said, well, if you knew the whole story,
Right.
know he deserves the bigger trophy.
Yeah. Yeah, so I always say it's like you have two broken people that come together into a relationship from two family systems that weren't perfect, had their dysfunction, and you're trying to build something, and then you have other things that create more brokenness. And so I had my broken things in my life, things I'd done, my season of using drugs and drinking alcohol and being promiscuous that created a lot of issues for me and a lot of shame issues, So, it said, so did I know I was in love with Ahron? I don't think I had a good grasp on what love was at that time. It was very externally referenced for me. So, he, by appearance and by having a stable job and all these things, it's like, oh yes, this is the right. He was kind and he was gentle and he was so opposite of anything I ever dated. So of course he was the right person to marry. It just made so much sense to me. And and I think, we often have said, like, we were two broken people. We both walked in with our baggage, put the suitcases under the couch and never unpacked them. And then just started trying to have a relationship. And then, of course, you had your journey with addiction, so that created a whole other set of situations.
Valerie, were you raised with God? Were you born with God in your family? Or
I was raised Catholic.
Okay.
And I went to Catholic school. And it was kind of, we went to church as a family, mostly the holidays. And it's when my parents took us, and then when I got to be about a preteen and my sister could drive, then she could drive me to church. So I was raised in that.
So when you guys first got married, were you already in addiction, or did this come later?
Not completely. When I crossed that invisible line, which we don't know where that's at, I don't know when that was. It was probably about 10 years into our marriage.
You got sober 10 years.
Oh, okay, you're right then.
That's how addicted he was.
We started partying together, and then we had a child, and then she stopped, and I continued on. And then you're right, about 5 years after that, then I crossed an invisible line, and I realized I had a problem I couldn't fix. Yeah.
Like step one, my life had become unmanageable.
And then, Ahron, if we can unpack that. When you say invisible line, do you mean it became like a habit with like the work and business? And I would just want to tailor this because in construction, it's heavy load. It's like early mornings, late night. I could say, because I have my husband, he's a plumbing contractor. So same thing.
Yes.
He takes phone calls over the weekend, and I've seen him leave at home from 4 in the morning, not come back to 11 p.m.
Yes.
And it's it's a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
People don't really talk about the blue collar. They talk about the blue collar men, but they don't really focus on what blue collar women go through.
Yes.
And I actually want to open up that little segment. But to you, when you said there was a thin line, were you referring that it became like a habit, a lifestyle with your work? And
Well, yeah. What happened was in high school, I drank and smoked pot, did all those things, and went to garage parties and did all that. So when I started working in 1977, I started working out in the construction field, and I realized, oh my gosh, did I die and go to heaven? Everybody's getting high. Everybody has drugs. They have unlimited money. they're doing it all day long, all night long. So
Even during work?
Yes, during work.
okay.
And I thought I hit the jackpot, right? So I bought into that lifestyle. I was working, getting up early. We were smoking in the morning. We were getting high. The superintendents, everybody was doing it. And everywhere I went, if I worked, my dad would send me out to go work for another company on equipment rentals or whatever. They were all getting high. It was just this world that I
Big
slowly...
party.
I think it was the 80s. 'Cause I hear that from the insurance world too. They said
Yes.
like in the insurance world, there was just like a lot of drinking, cocaine.
Oh, yeah.
Like, people would be just
Yeah.
You guys would stay in the construction yards till 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning and be getting high and doing what we did. And then I just morphed right into that because, you know, we had a family business. There was nobody telling me, hey, dude, chill out, right? And I just morphed into that. And then, of course, in the 90s, when Cal OSHA got involved and they started pre-employment drug testing and all of these things started coming out, it was a shock to the construction industry because it was like the Wild West out there when I started.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So until the 1990s, they started drug testing.
Yeah, when Cal OSHA started implementing a lot of pre-employment, accident, you started to have a safety program, which was very early when no one had safety programs. Nobody were doing employee training. There was no sexual harassment. There was nothing.
None of that, right.
No. So that was the world I grew up in.
Right. So when they started drug testing, is that when you got sober?
No.
Oh. I'm the owner. What are you
Yeah.
talking about?
Yeah.
I choose who gets drug tested.
So going back, you know, the environment you were in, obviously there were a lot of drugs and alcohol use, but walk us through when you recognized it was an issue, what you did and how you guys worked that out together.
Well, we were attending church, but I got involved and started using, which I thought I would never do, was methamphetamine. And that was the drug that really grabbed onto me.
Me too.
It took me to a really, really dark place. And I couldn't help myself. I got addicted where I was like, oh my gosh, I thought this would never, I thought I was smarter than this. I thought I could control this. I thought. And I got scared.
Yeah.
And
I remember one morning he left to work and he would, I didn't know he was using methamphetamine. I knew he was drinking, but he would go to sleep and then he'd wake up and he'd be up from like 9 to 12 and just kind of ranting and raving about things that were happening at work, and now he had to go and investigate this and fix this and it was just very odd behavior. And he one morning went to work and he came back about an hour after he was gone, and he woke me up and he said, you need to pray for me right now because I sense something very dark is coming after me. And that was the first time I ever prayed with him. I had been a Christian already probably 9 years maybe at that point, and he wasn't. So I was attending church by myself with my kids, and I'll never forget that. I remember I would sense that sometimes at night. I would sense something very dark on him, and I would, put my hand on him and pray while he was asleep. But that particular morning, he saw something or he sensed something, and he came home and asked me to pray. So I would say that was a very important moment that he was understanding about spiritual things,
Mm-hmm.
And he would come to church with me once in a while when we would have really bad marriage problems. We were having issues throughout that whole time. But if it would get really intense, really bad, and he would leave for a few days, and then he'd come back, and okay, we'd kind of put a Band-Aid on it, and then he'd come to church with me to make me happy. And so he was kind of being exposed to church and God and those things. But as soon as we'd get home, he'd make a drink,
So how long were you smoking meth or?
No, I never smoked it. I only ingested it through my nose. Yeah.
So for how many years?
Oh gosh, 3 or 4 years is all it took to get me to that place. Yeah.
So mine was 10 years.
Wow.
And I smoked it.
Oh yeah.
And the only thing that I can remember, because I was the first time I was addicted, it was to crack cocaine, and I smoked that. I was in my 20s, broke. It was one of those, you get paid on Friday, you're broke by Monday, and then you're struggling for the whole week. So that addiction lasted 5 years. And then we talk about recovery, we talk about rehab. When you're poor, you don't know anything about that. It's jail and then church, right? Usually you go to jail, you get sober, and then they teach you about the Lord in there, and then so you come out like, oh Lord, here I have to go back to my same home, my same environment. Please find me a place. Please take care of me. So that's what happened the first time. And I actually, my husband's brother John was studying with the Jehovah's Witness. So we started studying with the Jehovah's Witness, right? And like Frank said earlier, sometimes you need such a strict program because you're such a hardhead or you're such a hardcore addict that this is where I feel God placed me at the time. So I got sober, and I think it just had Christopher at the time and Jordan, actually. And then Nick came later. But we went to the Jehovah's Witness church for about 15 years, I think it was. And the only thing that I can remember is my mother-in-law passed. And she was like my best friend. And I was somewhere with a cousin of mine, and she was using methamphetamine. And anyway, I started using with her, and then little by little, like you, I won't take that home, and because she wasn't smoking it, and I really never really liked ingesting anything, nothing. And one day I took her to an event. I remember it was an event in Long Beach, and I had taken a nap, and I woke up and she was in the bathroom, and I saw her smoking it, and I was like, hey, because me, every day I just prefer to smoke, so started smoking it, and then I'll never take the pipe home. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep this in control. And it was just a matter of time before I'm taking the pipe home. Now I'm running a business. Now I have my children. Now I have money. So now I'm buying bags this big of methamphetamine, and you only need a little tiny bit to, And so Chris didn't know for, I don't know how many years it was, but he didn't know until it got that bad where your personality changes and you're getting up super early and you're coming home really late and it's all about work and you're thinking in your mind, hey, I'm working, everybody has what they need at home. You don't think of the damage, of the neglect, of the kids,
Right.
And so that addiction lasted 10 years. Again, where you hit that rock bottom, oh Lord, please, where you can't get up and get going until you hit that pipe, then you're like, hey, let's go, But after a while, it's exhausting, and again, the kids are growing, life's passing, and again, I do remember saying, oh Lord, I'm stuck. Here I am again. I need you to come and help me again. Same scenario, jail. It's another long story, but jail. And then and then kind of straight back to church, not to the Jehovah's Witness church this time, because it wasn't a place for me. Just I wasn't growing there spiritually, and I didn't go back. And went to church for a while, and then got a grip. Now I knew, when you where it's gone, not that it's gone, because I won't hang around anybody that does that, because I will probably fall right back on my face. But so I do know, because I'm smarter and wiser, what I shouldn't be doing, people I shouldn't be hanging around with, places I would never go to, because you just need that one trigger, or whatever to put you there again. But when I think about recovery, or when I found Third Step, because I was going to a church, and then COVID hit. So then, you can't go to church and all that. And then I kind of lost my contact, because they moved farther away. And I was already driving like 40 minutes to Faith Church. So I wasn't going. I wasn't going at all. And I could still feel like, God, I want to find a church somewhere, but I don't want to drive an hour because then I know I won't go. And my friend would be like, you could go online. And I was like, yeah, but you don't feel the same energy and spirit when you go in person where people are praying. And, you feel like you're in the presence of the Lord, and you feel like you could talk about whatever's hurting you and come out of there like, things are gonna be okay. But when I think about when I met you guys, because I had been praying, Lord, I want to find a church, I feel alone, I want to go. And then so here we come through, and Frank was the one that had a relapse. And Frank and I had recently met. And I kind of blew me away that he called me. And he was like, he was like, and I didn't even know that he drank or struggled with alcohol and was going to AA, none of that. And then that's how we all came, because he went, I'm going to go into recovery. And then we talked about the steps, and I was like, hey, well, maybe the Lord wants me to do a deeper work. Just to level me up to the next maybe part of my life.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so happy that you're not a Jehovah's Witness. I am.
Me
and
too.
I'll tell you why. Because I heard, and I don't know if this is factual, because, but I heard that only about 200,000 of those people are going to make it into heaven.
It's 144,000.
Yeah, and 144,000 is even worse. I thought it was 200,000. So 140. I don't know how many Jehovah's Witnesses there are in the world, but let's just say there's 2 million. So what are your chances, right? Less than 10%. So, but here's another thing, Aaron, that I wonder. Jehovah only 144, and they're knocking every Saturday on everybody's door. Now, if you knew that only 144,000 people are going to make it into heaven, wouldn't you want to keep that shit a secret?
You ain't going.
It's a good point.
I'm not telling anybody. Like, I'm going to do away. I'm going to convert the other ones into Christianity and just be one of the 144,000.
Right.
Anyway, that's a whole
makes
other
sense.
story. But yeah, it's true. It's
No,
true.
but bringing it back, I reached out because I went through a little bit of a dark time here not so long ago. And we had already met. We had already been doing our thing, and I felt really comfortable reaching out and talk. I needed to talk to someone. And you're the one that says there's no coincidences and things happen for a reason. And everything moves so fast because I started my journey back in 2017, really like struggling and learning how to deal with it. But I always had a spiritual void, because my relationship with God kind of went away, and I was doing some recovery programs and I was doing AA, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't what I needed. And then come full circle, we do this, and I meet you, beautiful people, and then through the third step, through you, then I meet this great man. And since then, it hasn't even been that long, but since then, I just owe you a debt of gratitude, because my life has eternally changed, and I can't even express it. I can't even express what I found, how I feel. Just having that connection every day in our men's group and the work that both of you guys are doing. We're a testament to that. Both Lila and I, we're involved in that program that both of you are running and started, and now we're here, and it's night and day, and just the work that's been going on, and you're reaching a lot of people, and God is working through you, and
Yeah. I went to the first CHIP meeting,
right.
remember? And it was so impactful just seeing, 30 days and how one girl got up, right? And then, and you go 60 days, years. And I thought everybody was going to kind of get their chip and sit down, but then everybody went into their story. And I was so blown away. Yeah. The man that was an alcoholic for 50 years and had 1 year sober. I wanted to get up and clap. I was like, oh my God. Because those are like the modern miracles.
Right.
Like any other human would be like, say, don't even waste your time with that guy.
Right.
But the Lord can do something that powerful in these recovery rooms.
Absolutely.
And I came home and I was telling my husband, oh my God, Dad. And then, because you know how you came up to me, are you going to take a chip? Because I've got over 10 years of sobriety from the methamphetamine. But I drink, and I smoke pot. And not like where when I read step 1, my life is unmanageable, and I think, Lord, my life isn't really unmanageable. But that's just the excuse. I think with time, or who knows, we'll see.
Right.
But that community
Yes.
and recovery programs
Yes.
and gathering of people to tell each other the stories, to give each other that hope, to say the world, they're not going to give you hope. They're not even going to give you a chance. They're going to skedoodle you away as hopeless.
Sure.
It's these programs and the community.
Yes.
I get chills. I'm telling you, there's so much power there.
Absolutely.
And it's so exciting to be able to be here, in this podcast room and talk about National Recovery Month, because recovery isn't always about alcohol and,
Right.
and drugs.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
It could be divorce.
Yes.
People have to recover. That's like a death. It could be the loss of a loved one.
Yes.
I had to recover. I'm still in recovery. I'll forever be in
Yes.
recovery.
Right.
But being in community with those that have that same pain
Yes.
has helped me heal
Right.
so much, has allowed me to be there for the other woman that just lost her kid. Because I'm coming up on 5 years. To feel that strength, to be like, it's going to be, even though in the beginning you don't want to hear it's going to be okay, they're in a
Right,
better place.
right.
No, you're like, no, they're not. They need to be
Right.
right here.
Right.
But the Lord will move.
Yes.
He moves, and He moves in just the most powerful ways, where that's the only thing that really can bring hope to somebody that feels
Absolutely.
hopeless.
That's right.
And the drug problem in our country right now, I lost my son to fentanyl. I don't know what level of he liked cocaine, but he went and he bought some cocaine and did one line, and it killed him. He didn't know, but he's gone.
Yeah.
He's gone. And I didn't know anything about fentanyl until this happened to us.
Right.
And it turns out that the overdoses are, I had some, in 2022, it was over 100,000 people
Staggering.
between the ages of 18 years old and 45.
Yeah.
These are people that should not be dead.
Right.
No.
These are people that
No.
are being robbed from their families because the little kid tried a pill because he had anxiety and he bought it online. Or, you come out of jail and you go and buy some drugs, they have a little bit of fentanyl, you have no tolerance, you're dead.
Right.
And we, there was nothing being done about it. And at first you try to advocate, and now we're hearing a little bit that, the president's trying to make a difference. But I mean, and it just kept growing. I lost my son in 2020, kept growing and growing and growing. And it was like over 100,000 people a day. That's 300 people a day.
Right. Right.
And I think if a plane crashed every day with 300 people a day,
Right, yeah.
they ground the planes,
Yes.
Right.
we would be doing something about it.
Yes.
But we weren't doing anything about it. And you feel so defeated.
Right.
Well, you
Yes.
already feel robbed. You already feel like I was a victim of this. How much of a difference, can I really make?
Right.
But
Absolutely.
that's why even if we're impacting one soul,
Yes.
Uh-huh.
it's worth it. One soul.
Right.
But if we get that good, or our stories are so powerful that the Lord is going to use us, then hallelujah, use us. We just have to put in the time, and we just, have to show up and not be ashamed that, I was a meth addict for a long time,
Yes,
and I had
I
kids,
agree.
Right.
and I had a business. But that it's like almost like that's what they call, liquor, spirits, or drugs that, it's like something comes inside of you, and it's living there, and you want it to go away, but it won't, and it can't. And only the Lord, the both times that I was an addict, He came and rescued me.
That's right.
When I lost my son, He came and rescued me because my whole family and every last one of my friends thought I would relapse.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But because it was for drugs, it was like, there's no way I'm going to do
That's
that.
right. That's right.
But-
And even the Bible says, Jesus came to set the captive free. And you're describing that you're a prisoner to this addiction, whatever it is. And, I think it's important to know that addiction is the outward coping mechanism that we use. It's he got caught up in it, and then the stresses of work, and like you referred to, and the hours and all of that. So then it becomes a need. It's something I need to do this. It's not like I want to do this. I need to do this.
Yeah.
And I think what is important to know, as you have referenced earlier, as the wife of, and being married to somebody, working all those hours, gone all that time, and now in addiction and alcoholism to cope with the lifestyle, he had that going on. And on my side, because it's such a unpredictable way of doing relationship, you don't know what you're getting or not getting, and there's a lack of emotional connection. So I became very controlling. I became very codependent. I suffered from a lot of anxiety and depression, and the rage that I would have at times when we would have disputes. I would lose it. I would lose it. And it's unfortunate that my kids had to suffer through that, and they had to experience the toxic stress that was in our home. I have great regret for that. But I'm grateful that addiction is no longer in our home, but we've been doing the work. So you get the addiction out, get those demons out of the way, but you have to do the work. You still have to do the inner work, because it's how do we do relationship? We just kind of didn't before. We just were two people existing, trying to have a family. You go to work, I take care of the kid, but we really didn't have a connected relationship. We didn't know how. And then addiction prevents that even more. It blocks you from being present and being able to have true relationship as God intended us to be vulnerable, to feel safe with one another. You don't, so it's taken years of us working on ourselves and working with each other, because obviously I had no trust. I had zero trust. And I had zero trust coming into the relationship to begin with. I had a lot of trust issues. And then when this came into play, forget it, So I would get triggered by a lot of his behaviors that weren't even he wasn't using, but my hadn't worked through that stuff. I had not healed, so I'd have these reactions, and then he would get guarded up and feel like offended by me. So then we couldn't connect. So it's taken a lot of work, and that's what the whole step process offers. It offers a path of doing the inner work. It's an inside job. He always says that. Absolutely. This is an inside job. Get the addiction, get the alcohol out of the way, but that's not it.
Still a lot of work to do.
There's a lot going on.
So you had your spiritual awakening.
I had a very dramatic spiritual awakening.
Yeah, can you share?
Well, I was so scared, like she said, when she prayed, and I was at a wit's end, and I'd come to the end of myself, I says. And my prayer really was, God, save me from myself. I didn't ask to get sober. I didn't know what sobriety would even look like, because you got to remember I started drinking and smoking pot at 13, 14 years old. I was a kid.
Me too.
So at 38, I said, God, save me from myself. And it was a very powerful experience. And so I knew at that time that I wasn't the same person, and that he had changed my life. Now, to get into how I did recovery, that was the pastor that embraced me, asked me to do recovery, and I says, I have no idea what that would even look like, because all I know is I went from drinking and being a slave to something to being free. So God started confirming in me with other people outside of him asking me. So I had these very incredible encounters with people that God started bringing in my life, telling me, this is what I want you to do. Yeah. And so I did it, and I says, Lord, if nobody shows up, if one person shows up, exactly what you said, if one person shows up, then that's what you want me to do. I will pour into that one person. And it just continued and continued and continued on to how many years?
Oh my goodness.
Have we been doing this
22?
together? Yeah.
23.
So did you start going to AA, or did you start doing all that?
No.
Oh.
I just started a group. I opened the church, and no one really came. And one guy would come because his wife wanted him to get sober and all this other stuff. So I just said, God, I'm available. I'm available. I'm available to whoever wants hope.
Yeah.
And
That's powerful. See, because I never went to AA, NA, none of it.
Right.
None of it. Jail church.
Yeah.
Jail church.
Yeah.
But then when I didn't go to church, and I was like, it's funny how you feel like it's missing. Like God's not going to be able to
Yes.
use me if I don't go find a place somewhere to again, continue with the internal work. Because when I met you and you talked about the 12 steps and I thought about it, like I never did that. And then read through them, and then I was like, "Do I want to do that?" Right.
Yeah.
But I feel like I am working to improve my relationships, especially with my children and my husband, because that's where I feel I did the most damage. Or, you know that, and it's I'm still just starting, but I feel so like at least I'm making a little bit of progress.
One of the things that I've found out recently, and see, my struggles have been for a long time, and one of the reasons why I think things have changed right now is, and we talk about doing the work, right? And you mentioned somebody came in on a wife card, right?
Yeah.
You see a lot of that in a lot of different rooms in AA, at church. They're on the verge of a breakup, or things aren't going too well at home, or they might lose their job. And so you go into it, you have a problem, but you go into it for all the wrong reasons. Not to say that it's a wrong reason, because you did get your ass into the room, but you're not doing it for the person that matters, and that is yourself.
Yes.
And a lot of people make that mistake, because I made that mistake. I was in because I knew I had a problem, but I was doing it for all the wrong reasons. I never was really doing it for myself. I never had the spiritual component, and I never did the damn work. So then working the steps, going to the programs, doubling up, doing the actual work, and you hear people talk about it, right? You got to work your 12 steps. You got to do this. You got to read the book. You got to read the Bible. But a lot of people disregard that.
Yeah.
So you don't really want to get help. You don't really want to change your life.
Right.
You don't really want to change the dynamic. But like everything in life that's important or that means anything, you got to do the work. And when I started doing the work, and we become involved, and Aaron knows my life, it's not just Mondays for me.
Right.
It's not just Mondays. Mondays we're in that room from 5 to 8, and we're doing the Bible study, and we're doing the recovery group.
Right.
And Sundays we see each other at church. But my Tuesdays and my Fridays and sometimes my Wednesdays are all about recovery through a different group, through a different aspect. I'm working the 12 steps on both fronts, on not just the Christian and the spiritual side, but on the AA side. I'm helping people and being of service. My weeks have been flooded, but you know what? I feel 10 times better. I spoke and I shared with Aaron at one of the groups the other day, and there's a lady by the name of Darlene who took me to the first Christian church I've ever been to. It was all black, very charismatic. Well, shout out to my homies out there. But she heard me speak. And one of the AA groups, and I shared, and she's like, I've known you since 2017, and I'm telling you right now, you're different. You're different. You're gonna make it.
Good.
You're different. And I just knew. You've never been this brutally honest. You've never been this version of you. Something happened. Oh yeah, when you see demons in your cushion, something definitely happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want this, if you wanna recover from whatever your addiction is, you got to do the work.
Yeah.
If you're really tired, if you've had enough, and it can't be for the girl, it can't be for anything other than you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, I want to take this back to 30-year-old Valerie with 3 kids. You said you 3 kids when you're going
I had
this?
2 at that
2
time.
kids. For wives, moms, daughters who are on the opposite end, who are the ones feeling the impact of the person that's going through this addiction. Because I know there's a woman right now who might be listening, like my son, my dad,
Yeah.
my husband is going through this right now.
Yes.
What do I do?
Well, I think one of the main things for me, it's very similar to someone that's in addiction, is that I had community.
Okay.
And that's big. And so as I said, I was involved in a church. I got involved in the women's small groups. It took me a minute to say out loud that my husband, even to say my husband wasn't a Christian, because everybody there had their husbands with them. I was a church widow, and once I felt safe enough to say, here's what's going on, and not maybe with the masses, but like a few women that God had brought in my life, and I trusted them, and they supported me. They were there for me. I could call them when I would feel like I'm losing it. I could call them when I was overly stressed and burdened. They would pray for me. They would encourage me. They would come to my house, because we would argue sometimes, and he would leave. And I remember a woman who was mentoring me, and she showed up, and she just sat with me, and she was faithful. She said, you know what, Valerie? I know you and Aaron have had a lot of issues and arguments, but this time, you were wrong. I'll never forget that. I was like, wait, what? And so, but she was faithful. She was she was confronting me on what I did wrong so that I could correct that. So my main thing would be, do you, because when you're in those situations, we want to codependently help them and fix them and control them and do all the, and I tried those methods with him too. None of them worked, and you start losing yourself, and you start losing your serenity and peace and all the things, because you're so obsessed and you're so focused on them that you're not taking care of yourself. So self-care, huge. You do your healing, understand why, you're in this situation, and you have to accept the things that you cannot change. You cannot change people, places, or things. So once I was able to accept that and release him, really, and trust God, trust God. I'll never forget, I prayed one time, and God gave me a vision, and I saw one arrow shooting out into the sky. And I was like, okay. And then I saw another arrow shoot out into the sky. The second arrow caught the first arrow, and it became a spear. And I was like, whoa, what was that, And I sat with it, and I sensed God say to me, that first arrow is you, because you came to know me, and I'm shooting you out to be useful to my kingdom. The next arrow is going to be your husband. Oh. Now, he was in his addiction at this time. And I'm like, that guy? Yes, your husband. And then one day, I will mesh the two of you, and you will be a mighty spear for the kingdom of God. I will use you together.
Wow.
I couldn't see it. I couldn't believe it. But by faith, I tucked it away. I wrote it in my journal. And I said, okay. And I told a couple friends, and they said, we'll believe it for you, Valerie. We'll believe it for you. And I said, okay. And it's happening. I really believe that God
you guys are a spear.
Made it happen.
For sure.
Where you been keeping that story, Aaron?
I've heard that story, but the backside of that was I started doing men's recovery, and my wife was leading women's Bible study. She was all very involved with women's Bible study at our other church, and the Lord had told me, he says, she's going to do recovery. So I told her, and she laughed at me. She said, when God tells me I'll do recovery, I'll do it. I said, okay. I said, I just know in my innermost being that this is going to happen. But I left it on the shelf.
Yeah.
And then we were sitting in front of our church, because I had keys to our other church at the time. And by chance, or like you said, God orchestrates these things. A woman drove up, and she came up to me, and she says, hey, I want some tapes from the church. Do you guys have any tapes? And I said,
CDs to listen to. Yeah.
And I says, no, I can't get into that right now. And she says, do you guys have women's recovery at this church? I said, oh, no, I'm sorry. I only do men, and we only have a men's group. Uh-huh. And she's sitting there listening. And go ahead, finish this story.
So she says, oh, do you do the women's group? Do you do women's recovery? And already many things had been happening like that. And so I just said, yeah, I'll see you Wednesday night. And that's how I got involved. Yeah.
And then at that church, then once she started with women, then it exploded. It really took off at our other church.
And I think back then, too, we were just talking about that. It was a new thing, it was new. Celebrate Recovery was just kind of starting. Yeah. So having recovery in the church was new. And it was a little bit not fully embraced. We were fortunate that our pastor and the leadership of our church was very much supportive of it, but the body of Christ, the people, had a little bit harder time with it. You know, it was kind of still, there was a little bit of the stigma, like those people, the recovery people, where today I think a lot has changed in the Christian community, and we're fortunate to be in a church that fully embraces it. Our pastor is just incredible, and he talks of these things, you know, from the pulpit, and I think it takes that stigma off and away, and just really embraces the idea of we're all in recovery, you know, from one thing or another. And so let's be honest about that. Let's talk about the inner healing that we all need, and he's so good at that. So we love him and love serving under him. And the difference, I think, from the last time we did recovery at a church to this time is the last time it was pretty much community came, not people from the church, people outside the church. This time around, it's a lot of people in the church and community too, but the majority of the people are from within the church, which is awesome, because they feel safe enough to say, this is my issue, you know.
And I think a lot of people struggle with, they know they have, and we talk about this all the time, right, Aaron, is getting people to walk through the door.
Yes.
Getting people, and we see it all the time. And I remember I had a conversation with someone when I was going through my hot mess, and, you know, I don't know if I could ever be with someone who abuses alcohol or drinks or had a problem with it. Yeah. But the reality of the situation is that people abuse this substance more than you know.
Yes.
They just haven't realized that there's an issue there.
Correct.
It's so common.
It's so common. There's people that drink daily that are losing their lives, and they haven't come to the realization. Right. I'm not trying to normalize it, because it's not. But you never know what the other person is going through, right? And sometimes you don't find out till it's too late, or never find out at all, and then you're on the other side, right? But it is not a struggle, but it is like, how do we get more people to walk through? But you're right, Val, like Oscar does a great job in highlighting and illustrating the work that you guys do, and we. Since when do you speak French? But there's been some instances at our church where he has highlighted, and when we all walked up and we invited everybody to come up, and being in that room with you, the first time to now, it's a huge change. The people that you're impacting, the friends that I've made, just through you, the support that I'm getting, because there's people that I text. Fernando was reaching out to me yesterday. Hey, brother, we missed you here today, and just that support. We've met, some of the men and I. We've met for lunch and just talked life. Wow. Hey, what's going on with you? Oh, I'm struggling with this, that, and the other. Yes. And then we just to be able to share and just be able to say, you know what, me too, man. I'm fucking tired today. Just that. Amongst men, right? Who normally, because based on our ego, that's frowned upon. You can't talk about your feelings. The fuck is that? But being able to do that, and then coming home after a long day and having already shared what was bugging me that day with either Aaron or one of the guys, sets me up for the next day. And just the brotherhood. Iron sharpens iron, right?
You got it.
Absolutely.
This man, 4 a.m, gym sessions. I don't even know how he gets the energy.
He goes to bed at 7. Valerie just said that.
He's on the men's chat group. He's made time for me the days where I've needed him. We're talking about an owner of a highly successful company that just takes the time to help. You're an inspiration.
But also because someone did it for me, and he modeled it. And he told me, he says, you're going to go do this for someone else. I said, I'd never be able to do it like you did. And he says, you'll do it your own way. So I happened to have lunch with him about a year ago, and I said, do you remember saying that to me? He goes, no. And I said, that's even better. Thank you. Because now I see it on this side. I see the fact that it's done in however I do it, however God has wired me. My business is connected to it. I've been able to help men with work and mentor them or be part of their lives. and they're connected to our church, and it's just it's the triangle.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
The triangle.
Yeah.
I
It's
like
the
that.
triangle,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
It is.
So I have a question for you guys and for the audience. For those that may have family members or friends who are struggling through addiction and they just feel like this man or she's never going to change. Like we tried everything. We've forced them in there and we've
Yeah.
let them alone and nothing works or nothing seems like. What advice can you give to those people that feel they're just like, no matter what I do, this person's not going to change?
Well, Valerie just said
Well,
that you can't change other people.
No.
Right?
no.
So the thing that you can do is figure out how you're going to endure. I believe there's power in prayer.
Yes.
Absolutely.
On a daily, be very specific with their names, and know.
But
and
what about people that
believe.
just they don't know God? Like Jesus, these people are just like, I don't know, because like if you,
You
would have
know-
told me to pray 2 years ago, I would have been, I don't even know how to pray.
You know that
Please God,
you were describing me, because I said I would never stop doing what I'm doing. I will never become a Christian. That was me. And
And I to your
yes,
advice right there, I think that was probably very key. Prayer was huge. The prayer support I gained, and then learning how to pray for him and learning how to not carry it myself and give it to God and just keep releasing him over to God, and
Yeah.
the Lord did there's so many things that I don't have time to tell you about, but even me discovering that he was on methamphetamine and finding it and confronting him and that whole story, and just there's so many things. But to the person who maybe doesn't have that resource of knowing God, I would encourage them to take the same process of the steps to realize that they are powerless to this person's addiction and alcoholism. They cannot control that, and that it could make their life unmanageable if they get enmeshed into that person's journey, that they have to have a healthy distance from it in many ways, and that they then step 3, turn your life and will over to the care of God, of your understanding. And that right there, to me, you can't even go forward till you do that, because once you have a spiritual dimension into your life, as Frank even said, even on that side, I call it the other side of recovery, people who have people that suffer, and you may not be there, because they could say, how could God exist if this is happening and my spouse is doing this or my son is doing that, my daughter's out there, using, and they're suffering from that. And how could God? Well, God is not the one who's doing that. We live in a very broken system, and it is in that system that we live in of broken humanity that causes these things to happen. So he's the resource to pull into that to help you move through and help you to know what to do. Even I didn't know what to do. I thought divorce was the answer. He would leave the house for 4 days and I would think there's peace. That's the answer.
Yeah.
The answer is divorce. And I mean, we did discuss it a few times,
we did.
and so it was an option on the table. But I just would say that take yourself through that process to make sure that you're not enmeshed, that you're not trying to codependently fix them, because that's a huge situation for people that are on that side. But I've met many women who have had husbands or siblings. I've met fathers, husbands, and so you just encourage them the way I would encourage somebody who's in addiction in the same manner, But I just thought of this one story, just even the idea of this higher power and the spiritual dimension that's involved here is, one of my friends came over. She knew we were having a lot of issues in our marriage, and so she just showed up and said, I'm going to babysit so you guys could have a date night. That's the last thing I wanted to do. But, I'm like, okay. So we get dressed, we go out, we go to this, remember that Uptown, that place? We went to this restaurant. We were there maybe 5 to 10 minutes, and we start arguing. And I walked out. I don't even want to be here. Why are we trying to do this? So he pays and whatever, and he comes out, and we get in the car, and I'm just like, forget it, and, just take me home. And we start arguing, and I lost it. I really lost it. And I started hitting the window and saying, pull it over, get me out of here, I hate you, and just completely lost it. And in the midst of that storm and that chaos and that rage and that out of dysregulation, he, the non-Christian, he says, Valerie, you need to call on the name of Jesus, who you say you know, right now, because he didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And when he said that, I stopped. It was like when Jesus was on the water and there was a storm and he said, be still, and it just stopped. He said that name and it just stopped.
Wow.
And so that, I'll never forget that, because he didn't even know God, but he knew I knew
The
God.
power in the name.
He knew I knew God.
Yeah, that was God speaking through him.
So he was saying, go to your resource, because I don't know what to do with you right now. You're losing,
Yeah.
and I don't know what to do. So even in that moment, he saw God settle me. So there were so many moments like that where I believe God was
I agree.
showing himself to him and to me, because obviously I'm like, what just happened? And it was the name of Jesus that happened.
And I want to share one story. She was sharing about praying for people with you have no other thing. So I get sober, and we were going to a small church, and I have this dramatic experience, right? So the pastor was really, he loved me a lot. He mentored me. I was mentored by another man, but the pastor was mentoring me also. And he says, I want you to get up and give your testimony. And I'm like, what? What is that? And he says, well, you get up there and just say what God has done to your life. So I get up and share a testimony in a small church. And I come out, and there's these women that were there. And they said, oh, I prayed for you. I've never seen you before. And I said, what? They go, I didn't know who I was praying for. I was just part of these women that were praying for you. And they says, oh my gosh, you're a miracle.
Yeah, it's true. And then after that happened, anyone I would introduce him to, he figured, well, if I knew him, they probably prayed for him. Not all of them did, but he'd go, thank you for praying for me. And they'd go, oh, mijo, I didn't pray for you. but I'm so happy to know you, But he would just, he was so grateful that there were women that they were specifically praying for him and for us.
That's amazing. And I want to speak on behalf of people that didn't know prayer. I didn't know prayer. I didn't even know. I've never opened a Bible. Maybe the first time I opened the Bible was 2 years ago when I went to go baptize. They're like, hey, learn why you want to walk with God.
Yeah.
And they asked, like, does anyone ever open the Bible? And I was the only person who didn't know. But if you would have asked me, Rocio from 2 years ago, would have been like, okay, I'll try it. Rocio from 5 years ago, those are words. I was, 5 years ago? 27. I was, kind of coming up in my career, thinking I'm smart, and, I know these insurance terms. I'd be like, those are just words. It's all energy. Rocio from 10 years ago would have probably burnt herself as soon as she heard the word Bible, or, been bad, because I was just this reckless, young kid that was up to no good. Bad. I always looked, when I saw people praying, and I had a lot of anger towards God, actually. So I was like, I was one of those people, like, if God did exist, then why does all these bad things happen? And I didn't know about God.
Very common question, right?
Yeah. I was 22. 21. And if I would, when I would see people pray, I would always be on the skeptical side, like, all of these things that you guys are saying, it's like BS, because I know your kids are doing this and this, and I party with them, and they're not going to change, because I know how much they fiend for that. And I know, and I would just be like, in my head, I was just like, these things don't work, it's all BS. But the amount of people I've seen saved, the amount of teenagers, young children that have come out of those addictions, out of nasty, almost got killed, because a mom was praying for them.
Yes. Yeah.
But I was still, a little skeptical, but I was like, okay, well, that's great if you have a mom. I don't. That's great, like, you have support. I don't. So, and then, when I walked out of that, because I knew that all the negativity and all that bad stuff, it wasn't for me. It's not what I wanted to do. On that end, I started to know that the words you say are good. So like if you're in a good mood, you're bringing positivity. And then I was making the connection, 25, that's energy. And then from there, I still didn't believe. I was like, there's a higher power, but there's no God. Like in my head, I'm just like it's nature, blah, blah, it's energy. But, as I started to growing in my career as a person, I'm like, there has to be something bigger. There's a purpose because there's like miracles. I've seen things happen.
Yeah.
And I've also seen really bad things. You talk about demons and bad stuff. I've seen some of that stuff. And so I know there's an existence. If the bad exists, the good must exist. So that's like my logic there. And then I got introduced to God through my mother-in-law, who, she's now in heaven. She passed away 3 months ago. And she said, hey, I want you and my son to go to church. So my husband, he, same thing like Aaron, 38, a party life and just, got away with God and so forth. And she's like, I would like you guys to be close to God. And I feel like the only way my son's going to get close to God is through you, Rocio. So like, if you could kind of be the first person to step in, I would appreciate it. And I was like, oh yeah. I was like, I'll never give God a try. I don't even know what that is. So I'm like, oh, let me try it. And she's like, all right, well, come with me. And, we did that. And it's a Christian church out in Pomona. And I loved it because it was all about just love and acceptance. And then maybe that day, that message was just about love and acceptance. And something there was just like, oh, is this the God people talk about? Because this feels good. This is like love and acceptance. And like, I want to know more. So.
Yeah. And I think, back to your point about people that don't know God, I would just, the community aspect is so big. And I think that's what I love about Third Step, because we're not a church, we're an organization. And we go where the people are. Right now we're going into a reentry program for women. There are 80 women there on ankle bracelets. They can only go about 10 miles from that place to go to school or appointments or whatever. And we're going in there and we're talking about trauma, and we bring in the Word of God, and we connect the two. And so I think it's really, and a lot of those women, they don't, I believe in God, but we're just meeting them where they're at. And so I would say that if you're in that place of having somebody that's struggling and it's impacting your life because you care about them and it's breaking your heart, find a community, find people that you can share the journey with, that people maybe that have gone further along, and just have those connections. Because really, believe it or not, this is God's design, is for us to have one another. And so that connection it's vital.
We talked about prayer, and I'm very grateful for what Aaron has done for me, because he taught me the power of prayer and discernment. And it's great, because the more that I learn from you, the more that I'm involved, the more I learn about everything you're teaching me, the more my eyes open, and the more I know how powerful what we have is.
And I believe the important part is we have a relationship.
Yeah.
And by that, there's a level of trust that we're able to speak into each other's lives, knowing that we have the best for each other. We don't have an agenda. We just want to see us both as men. And that's what we're really doing on Monday night. We're people come in and they'll sit in the back and not say anything, and we just love them and just accept them. Say, hey, you don't have to say anything. You can just come. If this don't work for you, I get it. But they get drawn in by the relationship and the trust and the.
Well, like Valerie said, you meet them where they're at.
Yes.
If you meet people where they're at and you're not judging and you're saying, look, this is a safe place. And the thing about it is, they'll hear a story. Something will happen, because if they're showing up, God sees that they're showing up and they're trying. And they'll hear a story, and all of a sudden they're going to be like, me too. When you put groups together, because like you say, you have AA, you have NA, you have grief group, you have divorce group, you have pornography group. All the people come with that same illness that they have, and they can talk about it, and then this person understands it, and all of a sudden they're healing together and drawing. And if it's got the Lord component, then the percentage of just healing and staying sober goes way up. And I wanted to touch real quick, because my younger son Nick, he was as I lost my son Chris to fentanyl, my youngest boy was hooked on fentanyl right at the same time, but we didn't know that's what it was, because even Nick thought he was taking Percocet, but it was they had tricked him into the fake pill. His tolerance was way high. Me being an addict, me learning about fentanyl, I was like, oh my God, my son is dealing with something 50 times stronger than anything I put in my body. Oh my God, my son, how are we gonna save him? How is he gonna get better? And in the beginning, because I understand my son was not my son. He was this rage of, because he's got his issues. A lot of it is towards me, And then I had these, you're going to listen to me and you live in my house. And we were like this, cops fighting with each other. And then all of a sudden I was like, hold on, what am I doing? I'm making it worse. I need to fix, like Val said, I need to fix what's going on internally, because I want my son to get better. I don't want him to go to church. I don't want him to be homeless. I put him out. I put him out for a month. He was living in his car. And I thought I was doing the tough love, the right thing. And I was not. Because they were saying you got to love them back so that they could love themselves, so that they could want to get better. Because if you're scolding and if you're not praying and all that, you make them more angry and you make them want to take more drugs. So I had to change my mindset, and I still had to establish some boundaries to make sure he's not, losing respect. Because you know what I mean? Especially you live in my house, you want to demand a certain amount of respect, But at the same time, it was like, well, let me give the respect. You know how they say, you give respect, you get respect. And little by little started to kind of change my behavior towards him. Even though he would get me sometime and I would just go to my room, and maybe I'd be pissed for the day because it could get ugly. And then again, internally, just like, it's all right. He's, I got to let him slide. And in time, he's got about a year where he hasn't taken a fentanyl pill. And mind you, it's not perfect, and he's making little baby steps, but I got very, very specific about him, because when I understand addiction and then what he was dealing with, I was like not losing hope, because I know the way the Lord works, but I had to change how I was dealing with him so he could maybe forgive me a little bit of the resentment and then start loving himself enough to start making that change. And we got a year of him not taking the pills.
Congratulations.
That's great.
Yeah.
I think the work that you two are doing is incredible. And I know this because I'm a byproduct of the work that you're doing, Ahron, and I am ever so grateful. I owe you a lot. And every day that I'm with you and communicating with you, I could just feel that I'm becoming a better man. And I love you.
I love you too, Frank.
Well, I think you're a testament
Yes.
to what God can do, because I was thinking that even when you were talking, I thought, I came here in May, I met you, we're talking about Third Step. I don't know anything about you. You say you're in recovery, you live in Whittier. I say, oh, my husband runs a meeting. Maybe you could check it out. You do. You go that Monday, you go with him Thursday, you visited him at the office. That's all in 1 week. You got baptized the following Sunday. We can't make this stuff up, like
She calls
Reggie
me on
says.
Saturday, hey,
I'm like-
Frank's going to get baptized.
So
I was like,
I had to say that because it's like, that's the story. You couldn't have scripted that.
No.
That was the hand of God moving, putting that together, and drawing Frank, who he knew was saying, there's got to be something more. And God
He's
said,
ready.
yeah, here's
He's
the way.
ready.
So I still marvel at that. I can't get over it.
It was an interesting couple of weeks.
Yeah.
well, and then she called me. I don't know how you got my number or how, but she called me. She goes, Frank's going to get baptized tomorrow. You want to come and support? Sure, where? Yeah, and that's when I went and walked into Dream City's doors.
Yeah.
And knew it was for me, because, I just could feel like I could just pour all my pain there. And I was like, oh, God, thank you. It's only 20 minutes away. This is going to work out well.
Yeah. So,
No,
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't just me. I mean, Lila and I go to Dream City now.
Right.
We go to the recovery group. This is all you guys. Both
Well,
of
that's
you.
God.
This is
Yes.
I'm just a
Through
construction
you.
worker.
through you.
You know,
Ditch digger.
I'm just a ditch digger.
I'm just a trash man.
Right.
But your story is incredible. The
sober one, though.
relationship is incredible. The way
Yes.
you made it through, the way you stuck it through.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, man, I want to be like you when I grow up.
Yeah. Me
Well,
too.
before we wrap up the video, I actually wanted to mention this for the audience that's listening. We have an upcoming, they have an upcoming event, which is called the Third Step Ministry. It's on September 27 in Whittier. We'll post the details on the location. I'll probably make a separate post just for this. But for the audience or the people who are out of state, I wanted to let you guys know that we are accepting volunteers. We have, Valerie, is it women that are only allowed to come in and
To participate and sit in the event, it's all women.
It's all women,
Yeah,
okay.
about 500, 600 women. But men, we need men to help
Yes.
set up and tear down and
But
security.
a lot of us men come and we support
Yeah.
and we build relationships through that. We'll
Right.
hang out and talk
Right.
and go have lunch and
Yeah.
get to build relationships.
Yeah.
at
And if you
another
know
level.
anybody that's in recovery, and we do offer a support group on Tuesday evenings on Zoom, so you can be in any state and join that. So if you go to thirdstepministry.org, you can find out all the things that we're doing, and then we locally
Yeah.
serve in person at Dream City Whittier. So
Yeah.
would love anybody
Monday night.
on Monday nights at.
Yeah.
Well, he starts at 5. We start at 6:30.
And if you are busy that day on the 27th or out of state, you could also sponsor and donate to have different packages.
Absolutely.
And again, guys, this is all for the purpose of helping women who are struggling and trying to recover.
Well, thank you. Again,
Thank
it was
you.
an absolute privilege to have you guys on our podcast today. And so we'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Triangle Hustle podcast. If you like what you heard, please give us a follow, a like, and a share with anyone who might be interested in hustling with us. Leave us a comment. Let us know what other subjects you'd like the Triangle to cover. We'll see you next time.